This hearing was 8 to 10 hours long today. We now have a photo of Erik Menendez there in the hearing from this morning. We want to share that with you. But we also have a statement from the Menendez family.
Yeah, this coming just minutes ago once they heard about the decision today, and they say, quote, "While we respect the decision, today's outcome was, of course, disappointing and not what we hoped for. But our belief in Erik remains unwavering, and we know that he will take the board's recommendation in stride. His remorse, growth, and the positive impact that he's had on others speak for themselves. We will continue to stand by him and hold to the hope that he is able to return home soon."
And that statement continues with, "Tomorrow we turn our attention to Lyle's hearing, and while it is undoubtedly difficult, we remain cautiously optimistic and hopeful that the commissioner will see in Lyle what so many others have, a man who has taken responsibility, transformed his life, and is ready to come home." Again, that statement from the family of the Menendez brothers. And we have our legal analyst joining us now, Josh Ritter. He's been following this case as we have for many weeks and months. And Josh, are you surprised by this outcome?
Well, I'm only surprised in that it seems like everything lately has been going in their favor. But when you think about it, I mean, these are incredibly heinous crimes. These are the types of crimes that usually the parole board is not even considering because these types of crimes are not eligible for parole. So in the grand scheme of things, I think it is not surprising. I think the other thing to keep in mind is that it was just less than a year ago, and the idea that they would even have this opportunity was pure fantasy and wishful thinking. So I think they're certainly ahead of the game. I think they might be surprised in that it seemed like everything up until now had gone in their favor, but really, when you consider the crimes, not all that surprising.
We're getting some new details about what they based their decision on, Josh. So let me read this to you. The board based its 3-year denial on Erik's pre-murder burglaries, his cell phone use in prison, and the shotgunning of Kitty Menendez. So apparently they really hung on that key point. But all three of those as a whole, what's your take on that?
Well, what's interesting about it is that the only thing that he can actually have an effect on over the next 3 years before he has a hearing is whether or not he has any more violations while he's in custody. Because the circumstances of the crime itself, the murders, are not going to change. The circumstances, the fact that he committed those burglaries ahead of time are not going to change. He can show, and I think he has shown, it sounds like they had a very extensive hearing, contrition for all of that and acceptance of responsibility, but it doesn't sound like that really carried the day. So between now and 3 years from now, really, if he doesn't have any more violations, perhaps he has a better argument, but it seems like the board was really concerned by the circumstances of the crimes themselves.
Josh, we've been talking about Governor Gavin Newsom's role in this, and we've been saying that despite what the parole board decided, the governor could let them free. Is that still the case?
It is, and it has always been the case. He has before now, during this time, and after this point, still maintains the power to grant them clemency at any point. He has taken kind of a wait-and-see approach. I imagine he will continue to do that. And allow the parole board, now that they are eligible for parole, to handle things as they normally would in due course. But he can, at any moment, if he decides to, go ahead and grant them clemency. And he has asked for a risk assessment. You remember, his office was the one who requested that risk assessment initially. So he's been looking into it.
Interestingly, in the past, we have seen, let's say, Manson followers who get approved by the board, but then it's the governor that denies them. In this case, though, when we put that extra emphasis on the burglaries and the cell phone and the murder of Kitty Menendez, do you think the governor will think long and hard about the fact that if the parole board doesn't agree, then I'm not going to agree? Could this be dangerous for the governor to suddenly say, I'm going to go against them?
It does seem like his track record has been one to overrule the board, I guess I should say, when they grant parole in certain situations where he feels there hasn't been a true acceptance of responsibility. I mean, most famously was Sirhan, and that was relied upon heavily by Nathan Hochman and his administration to point out the fact that, listen, the standard set by Governor Newsom was an acceptance of responsibility. We haven't seen that properly demonstrated here. So using his own words, they're banking on the idea that he does have a track record for that. My guess would be that he would not find now to be the optimal time for him to get involved in this.
And going back to the risk assessment that you mentioned that the governor requested, did he get a response to that? And wouldn't these the pre-burglaries and the use of the cell phone and the fact that he murdered his mother as well, wouldn't those speak to the risk assessment as well?
They did receive that risk assessment. It did not come back completely clean. There was these, the violations that they had had since their time in custody, and that's really what the risk assessment is concerned with. So it wasn't like they could rely heavily, the Menendez brothers team on that risk assessment, because it wasn't completely in their favor. And it may have been that was, and it does sound like that was at least in part what the parole board was hanging their hats on in arriving at this decision today.
Josh, I think we should talk about Lyle, because his day is coming tomorrow. We're expecting it to be very similar to this. A lot of talk, a long statement, dissecting his past. These two are different, though, and there is that chance that Lyle may not be seen as negatively as Erik was. What's your take on what we could expect, and if his attorneys learned anything from today?
It is true. They are considered individuals. And the biggest part of that is their time in custody has not been identical. They haven't even been housed in the same prison for their entire time in custody. So that will be different. Also, the parole board members will be different members. So they're going to have a different set of questions and evaluation of all of it. I will say, though, this was an incredibly long hearing, which to me means that they really felt that they had a shot today. And I imagine that Lyle and his team are discouraged to see them give such an effort for this and still come up short. So it's probably a good indicator as how things may turn out. But like you said, not a guarantee, because they are being considered as individuals.
Okay, and Josh, one last question. After tomorrow's hearing, when does the governor weigh in, time-wise? We know he has 30 days, but would he step in right away? What do you foresee?
He, I imagine, won't step in at all at this point, because the recommendation was not for parole. So right now, they are scheduled to come back. If they try to petition, they can come back sooner. But right now, the soonest opportunity they'll come back for reconsideration will be in 3 years. So I don't believe the governor is going to play any role unless they directly, request him for some sort of intervention or clemency. In the meantime, the parole board is not asking for him to weigh in.
Our legal analyst, Josh Ritter. Thank you so much, Josh. We do this all over again tomorrow. Your input has been really valuable, and it'll be a fascinating day tomorrow to see how Lyle's team reacts to this. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh. And we are wrapping up our breaking news coverage of the Erik Menendez parole board hearing today. And
tune in for Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock tonight. Of course, this is a huge story. We're halfway through it. Erik was today. Lyle is tomorrow. A lot of news gathering going on for the next few hours. So join us for Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock tonight.